Oh, I got scared for a second because it didn't turn on, and I was like, oh no, where all the cameras are gone? Oh no, they're there. I found him. Hello, everybody. Who has their water wings on? I don't know.
Nope, I'm wearing heavy armor.
All right. So, deep sea divers. Always. I never take them off. That's my secret, Captain. I've always got my water wings on. All right.
Secret. I'm always sad.
The Minister's just planning on using your shield as a boogie board, Cypress.
You have my
All of us
approval.
can
I don't know.
technically
I don't
fly.
think that'll float.
Oh yeah, Astrid, we can fly for a minute. We'll be fine.
It's made of like
Yeah,
solid
you're
glass.
But my
Did I
crew-
really have to point that out to you guys? I should have just
Yes,
stayed quiet.
I've flown once. Okay.
You know what would be funny
It's so
is that
amusing.
it's just one of those things that you guys do, and the whole ship just goes down, and then you two are just
Like Looney
and
Tunes.
you know what's perfect is the music changes to this, and it sounds like something that would happen as a comedy black and white sketch, or just like the ship goes, "Ah," and they're just like, oh.
Isn't the captain supposed to go down with their ship?
Hey, yes, but my ship isn't down. It's just
It's just
Falling
underwater in
with-
several pieces.
Falling with style. That's all. Oh,
falling
shift.
with style.
Dang chair. Okay, I've shifted. I think. Why do I feel so off kilter? Am I off kilter? Maybe it's not just me. I don't
It's
know.
because the ship is
Fuck it.
askew.
I'm okay with you being off on killing her. That's great.
All right, boys.
killing her.
All right, boys. You're dead. Sorry.
Yeah.
All the ladies lived.
Oh,
Ah.
I thought that was like a general boys, not like gender specific.
Gender specific. All right.
Ladies, you're all living.
Okay, so hey guys, welcome to tonight's episode of Age of Myth, where we played Dungeons and Dragons, but
And we sink ships.
Allegedly.
allegedly. I decided to bring out my mosaic mug because
Cheers. All the tea drinkers tonight.
Yeah.
Nice. I am drinking.
This had honey mustard.
Noodle.
Just gonna drink the sea.
Did you say that had honey mustard, Trevor? Ugh.
And this is gold bottle.
Suddenly the bathrobe makes this much more sensible.
Cup noodles is still has liquid, so you're
sure
good.
you're under 30?
Only in body and spirit, he's at least 85.
Not in body at all.
In spirit, yes. Body pushing 75. All right.
I love how quickly we went from mosaic to this prevents chafing.
I mean,
highly
when
recommend
you're
it. It's
working
great.
on mosaics, there's a lot of chafing going on,
It's true. It's true.
Anyway,
Get all up in that grouting.
yeah, that's true. That is true.
We all have that Laertian existence of being very young and feeling very old.
Also true. Very relatable.
Does
Yeah.
Laertes ever feel young?
Jesse.
I don't know. I guess
We'll
we'll have to
find
find out. We'll have to find out when he gives his usually his eulogy. I knew what I was saying. I was just
Well, I
trying
guess he has to invent it first. I think it's what we're doing.
be true. All right. Well, I was gonna see if it was a quick mom emergency. Any updates? I don't think we have any updates. We're approaching. Oh my gosh! Wait a minute. This is our last session of the year. Holy crap, Ola!
Yeah.
I just thought about that.
Going over the waterfall, as to say. That is New Year's.
It's true. I mean,
It's a tiered cake.
Can we start the?
did we?
Ow, ow, ow.
No, that was during Halloween, right? When did you guys almost get captured? Was it during October or was it at the end of the year? Or when you started over again? Was it during December to January?
When we got
I want to say
captured?
December,
Oh,
January.
you're not talking to me.
Not this. Yeah, no. In Game of Santos, in our last campaign, it was right because we ended it at the end of the year with you guys getting captured, and then when we started again, it was like refreshed or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't
I
remember.
know that we ended D&D. We ended Game of Santos before my breakup, which was in like May.
Yeah. So yeah, that would have been. I think that would have been January, February. That would have been that time frame. Wowzers. Okay. Well, all good, Phoebe. Okay.
The crying has ended.
crying averted
Ominous.
for now. Alrighty. Well, let's get into tonight's episode. So here we go. Okay, we back. All right, cool. Are we back? Are we back? I think we're back.
We're back.
Yes.
Sweet. All right. Let's see here. Then we'll start off with our recap from last session. So Penthos, take it away.
Okay. I need to turn it down a little bit. Get out of my head. Falling down the rabbit hole. A monster of a rabbit I am. To burrow and furrow my brow at what this could mean, at what this could be. Falling. In love through stumbled steps and jumbled words. Phoebe shines, the misto uncoils, Cypress remembers. 1-2 step. Falling into inky darkness, no quill in Samo still, to tell the story, to draft the cenotaph. Does the sea salt the earth, or must we trust every horizon? Falling, shimmering scales off the sword, off the faith of a Gorgon in mourning. Falling, grace afraid, deified, petrified. Are we closer? Are we further? Falling, unmatched kings on a battlefield of felt. Laertes multiplies and crystallized in the heavy heart of a monster. The rabbit hole deepens, falling where prayers are powerful, but words escape in the calm of camp at Icaria. Under the blanket of the captain and their stars. Falling into slumber. Cypress dreams of Aphrodite. Hope is rising. Falling into our simplest parts. Red clay never to be a pot. To the unmaker are we the unmade. Falling into that rabbit hole, squeezing, twisting, the tangled tunnels of trauma, two creatures reflect at sea, a ritual of compassion. Untangle and weave, the fringe of a monstrous heart. Falling over the wall of thundering mists. Falling.
Boo! Why would you do that to me?
So good.
Nice. Well done. Well, now I'm gonna feel bad for what I'm about to do. Jesus.
What? Why?
Then we die and we go home.
What about any of that made you not feel bad?
Oh my god, that was amazing. Well done. Thank you for that. I'm not getting teary-eyed for no reason. Don't worry about it. Okay. Give me 2 seconds here. We'll go with this. There came that moment as the ship was lurching through the misty, thunderous roar. Themisto, you at the lead, lighting the way with the beacon of the shield in your hands. And then, like some miracle, it parted. And you saw vast open space and air before you. An island at the center of a large circular area, as if suddenly you had been thrust into the heavens and were looking down upon this island, sitting on the sea. And then the ship begins to lurch below you, and you realize all too late what the thundering sound was as the ship begins to fall over the edges of the water before you. And the crew screams in surprise as the ship begins to and falls over the edge. There's a brief moment of free fall, and you feel yourselves all floating and flying in the air as the ship falls past waves of mist that rise up and gush past you. It's not a terribly far fall, but 100 feet is still 100 feet. So as the ship collapses down, I need everybody to make dexterity saving throws for me.
What kind of saving?
Dexterity, if you don't mind.
Is there any way that
go
I
ahead.
can...
We're gonna say Laertes.
Let him finish.
Okay.
Sorry. I was going to ask, is there any way that I can use my shield, but I'm not holding my shield. So I will just make my dex save.
Or go for it, Laertes.
Knowing that we're falling. Ouch. There's a few things that I can do. one as a reaction if that's the amount of time I have.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say.
Okay. As we start tumbling down through the air, I imagine there's this moment where it's like when an elevator drops faster than you were anticipating, and you kind of lift like a quarter inch off the ground, but so much worse
Ah,
as the ship kind of gets away from us, and I find myself trying to do far too much math, trying to calculate everyone's trajectories, everyone's, for lack of a better word, mass, because that sounds meaner than I intended to. But and I know that it's just too much to account for every single one, and it has to be a more brute force approach. And there's so many of us on the deck that are about to careen over. And instead of trying to individualize that stoppage, I use something that I designed for more of an escape button. As people start to drop, everyone around him and everything around him in a 30-foot sphere, they feel that little bit of weightlessness and then kind of stay right where they are. They don't drop any further,
okay.
except for him.
Okay. Let's see. A reaction would be instantaneous. Mind you, this is a 100-foot fall. So if you're stopping people from falling, they're going to be not 100 feet, but still substantially
I could
high
time
up.
it that it would be as we get lower.
Oh,
If I have enough time to kind of see not the ground, but calculate the distance between where we are and where we're about to be.
Make an Arcana check for me
Okay.
to see how well you can calculate this timing of this.
That's a 12, but I'm going to re-roll that because I can. That is much better. That's a 25, and I'm going to go mark off that I can do that.
Good, because 15 was the DC.
That's what I figured.
It was going to be a tougher one. All right, so we'll say I'll let you name the range then. How high up before crashing?
I would want to do it till when we're careening off, like almost like the ship is sort of tipped and almost kind of started to launch.
Yeah.
And as we start to tumble through the air and I can kind of get a clearer picture of where we're going and how bad it's going to be, then I know that hitting water at that distance is going to be like hitting concrete. I get it to within about 30 feet.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I know, Themista, you had your hands up earlier. What were you going to do? Or what were you going to say?
Yes. Well, I was so enthralled by listening to Laertes' choice that I've forgotten, so maybe it'll come back to me. We can go through the other
Okay.
players.
Penthos, you were the other one that I saw after her. My second question,
You were
You're
muted,
muted, by the way.
Pentos.
Laertes, well, and we'll figure this out, I guess, in a minute, was who was close enough to you?
It's whoever is in 30 feet centered on me. So I would assume, based on the size of the ship, that's pretty much everyone above deck. I can't do anything about anybody below it.
Okay.
And I don't think that accounts for the ship itself. If it's like
Yeah.
a loose object, it'll, like an oar that's kind of sitting there,
Right,
that'll
right,
get
right.
flung up into the air. But
Right.
I would like to amend the statement of distance because I'm still going to be free falling.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's enough time to do something else on top of that, I will, but only if
Okay.
I have enough time.
I might be able to help with that.
Penthos, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I don't know Laertes is going to do this, so
Mm-mm.
this was my idea previously. That
Yeah.
might work together, might not. But Penthos also has the feature long-limbed, which extends his reach. So whoever is closest to him, he would try to bundle up in his chest, preferably Laertes, not for what's just happening, but because of a previous conversation talking about frailty.
Yeah.
But literally anyone, even like an NPC or a crew or anything, whoever is just within reach. And I don't know how to determine that
Yeah. Well,
because it's such
we'll
an
say for
instantaneous
this, yeah, Penthos, you can definitely grab Laertes. I'll say that you'd be probably standing pretty close. Because that's what I was trying to remember is from last time. It's like we didn't really establish, except for Themisto being at the front with the thing, we hadn't really established where everybody was spread out at. I was assuming that Astrid was piloting the ship, so I knew that she was going to be towards the back end of it. Phoebe, what were you going to say?
I was going to, if Laertes is taken care of, I'm still going to do this to help with getting people down from being frozen. I would like to use my Celestial Revelation and draw on those sunlight wings again.
Okay,
Last
as
for
you're
a
falling.
minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll say that you could do that as you were falling, that you kind of like jump into doing that.
And I have a flying speed of 40 feet per round, so
Okay.
super fast, getting people whatever might be solid on the ground.
All right. Cypress, what were you going to say?
I think what I was gonna do is not currently necessary at this point, because Laertes was saved, or at least grabbed. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But at least visually, I imagine I'm up there close to the front of the ship with Themisto because she was using my shield. I was kind of behind her.
Okay. Alrighty.
I'll give up my dexterity saving throw if I'm just gonna like papa on the ground, but if I'm taken care of by a Laertes spell or feature, then I guess that's a moot point.
I don't know. I'm curious now because if then Penthos is being held by the spell and he is holding you, then technically I would assume that would keep you from falling beyond that.
I would
hope so.
assume so.
Yeah.
Actually, for Phoebe, she would find it easy to move through. She would be caught in it if she's on the ship, like on the deck, when it happens. But because she's got the wings, she's able to actually go through it completely unimpeded. Everyone else would almost feel like they have to swim through gel.
Okay.
Cool.
Astrid, what did you hear last so I can catch you up?
Laertes was doing his spell. That was he was like working on describing it.
Yeah. Did you hear what it did? Okay. So basically, well, Laertes, do you want to describe what it looks like as this goes down?
Most of what he does tends to be not illustrated by color as much as sort of this fringed warping of what you would see. It's kind of like moving, like when you're looking through the bottom of a glass as you kind of move it across a map. It just sort of warps and bends everything around it. But you're used to seeing it rend and rip and torque something into non-existence. But here it's more gentle, more inert. It's meant to just lift, keep something aloft. So there's still that slight distortion to it, but it's there doesn't appear to be any kind of harmful effect to it, other than the fact that if you had seen him do it, he was completely unaffected by it, but everyone else around him kind of seemed to move up almost a random number in that space.
You see the ship below you guys smack into the bottom. And as you were falling, we'll say that because of Laertes' roll earlier, you guys do stop at a good 20, 30 feet from what looks like the surface of the water. But now as everything seems to have frozen and become almost looks like it feels like time is slowed, and you can see the ship just continue to sink past you. Laertes, you're expecting yourself to keep going, and you see everybody stop in midair until you feel the arm of Penthos wrap itself around you and yank you up into up against him, just like a orangutan reaching down to scoop up its young, and just kind of like scoops you up and brings it close. And you hear the crash of the wood and the screams and yells of people down below. It's not complete destruction and devastation, but there is significant damage to the ship as it struck a sandy bottom. And as you guys are now floating 30 feet, or we'll say 25 feet in the air, what have you, you see that the water is, you can see the ground beneath it. This is shallow water. It's only maybe a foot to 2 feet deep. And you are now floating above this like almost like shallowy lake that expands the horizon around you, and behind you a massive wall of water that just seems frozen and vibrating in place.
I'll begin taking the people who are held aloft down into the water.
Okay.
After a moment, they would realize that they can start to move themselves, but it's slower. It's like I said, it's like they're trying to swim through gel. And so the fact that you can kind of just glide through it probably puts a few of them at ease.
And I only have a minute, so I'm going to go as quickly as possible with that monk speed.
Okay, Themisto, what were you going to say?
Was Laertes' spell large enough to encompass the entire length of the ship?
How long is the ship would be my question. Because I thought it was about 30, 40 feet long. So it would be 30 feet, I think, in any direction from him.
I don't remember how big the ship is.
Oh, for that, okay.
No.
Yeah, I remember it was not too big.
Just to see if Themisto was within that range. Is that why? Because you were at the very front?
Yes. Yeah, since I'm like right up there at the tip.
It fits about 30 people sitting under the deck. So yeah, about 40 feet across.
Let me see what because I was
If
using
Themisto wasn't in that range because Laertes was taken care of, Themisto would have gotten taken care of.
Well, yeah, but you didn't start your wings until after the spell happened.
Yeah.
Let me just double check this. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be fine. I'm not super like.
You're not feeling too murdery today? Yet?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Whatever. The ship schematics I was using is 70 feet by 20 feet, but if we are going for a smaller boat, then that's fine.
Gonna need a bigger boat.
I mean, yeah, because you have to think about it. Sure, it can fit 30 people down below, but you also are not. It's not just those 30 people. It's like storage space and everything else. So,
Yeah, so
I was assuming it was closer to 50. But you
that
know
makes
what?
sense.
But if Laertes
I'm
was
okay with
closer
that.
to the center of the ship and it was 30 feet in any direction, that could have covered 60 feet lengthwise.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well,
So
needless to
most
say,
people are fine.
yeah.
There was maybe not fine.
Well, that's part of why I was saying that was less about him being at the center of the ship and more like as we got lurched in the sort of that jackknifing action as the ship tips over.
Because it will compact people.
Yeah, it'll sort of throw them out. It's like, they're all together. Now we can die together.
So the ship, as you guys are lowered to the ground, you can see that the ship has fractures along the bottom of the hull. It's not completely like sandwiched down, nor was anybody inside fully crushed. There may be some broken bones though, amongst those who are below. And as you guys are brought down to the ground, you can start to really assess the situation that you find yourselves in. Astrid, what were you gonna say?
Astrid would have like screamed when she realized she was being held back and up, not with the ship, and just completely devastated as she like lays there inert or floats there inert.
But as you guys are now on the ground, you can start to see the area that you find yourselves in now.
Okay, so this is important. What order does Phoebe rescue people in?
Oh no.
That's a lot of pressure. Because time is of the essence, because it's such a short ability, whoever's closest. So
Okay.
kind of circling from where she is out. This
All
is
right.
more about practicality than feelings.
All right, I see how it is.
Oh.
Themisto will remember this.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see as Phoebe flies around these wings of fire and light. They glide as she glides up and around really quickly. And luckily, you're not super high off the ground, so it's not terribly difficult. And it's not like you're.
I could almost go like bring someone down and go back up and like around.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very quick and drop off kind of thing. Especially if you have a flying speed of 40. I mean, falling is not lifting somebody, so you're falling down and then going back up again. We'll say that just as the spell is about to run out, Themisto, you're the last one that she grabs, and the spell like starts to fade just as
I
you guys
also
are
have
about to.
slow fall as a monk, and again, I don't think that could apply to anyone else, but
No, but it's one of those things where you both are diving down to the ground and you kind of, as the wings fade, you both kind of tumble into the water.
So
Fine.
Themisto is very much in a sort of Lois Lane or MJ situation where all of a sudden there's a lurch and she has to like grab a little bit harder.
Wonder if she can read my thoughts.
I don't think, thanks to Phoebe, we both get down.
Mhm.
But for that first moment, Laertes would have felt like the biggest bear hug, almost like cripplingly so, because did not know what was happening.
Roll for damage.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
just-
say he's basically like Mr. Glass from
yeah. It was more of like this. You have never been like so fully encompassed by another being before. Like everything was just so fully primed to take the hit on his back. So when you realize that that wasn't coming, which probably took a good second, he just kind of like grabs your face and kind of just inspects it. Almost simian-like, actually. Very kind of orangutan, just like, are you all right?
You'll kind of catch him when I think the spell is still going at that point, and you see he's probably had to like force his limb out from the tangle to
Yeah.
try and just sort of focus on keeping this whole thing going. And the longer that it goes, his hand just tremors more and more. And while he's not trying to ignore you, his entire focus is, especially as knowing how shallow the water is, knowing that Phoebe probably has limited time to shuttle people down, and that Themisto is at the end of that queue, like his hands just struggling and trembling more as he's trying to focus on this. And then when she finally gets swept up, you just feel him kind of sink. And
I think I'll catch that too.
and you kind of just, it's like you ever had like a cat kind of just fall asleep face planting into you, and he
Yeah.
kind of does that, but he doesn't fall asleep, he just goes clunk, like he goes just, it's like someone cut his strings for a second.
Cypress, that is literally what you see behind you guys. Looks basically literally like that. A wall of water that is being, like, it's not so much a waterfall, and you can see now where the mist is coming from. There's this vibration to the air around you. It's like listening to a beehive in the distance, a loud, powerful, thrumming vibration that just courses through the air. And even the water here at this edge, while it like vibrates and shakes with ripples, as you would expect from all of the commotion and stuff, it still has its own little tremor to it. And you see even up this wall, there's so much of a vibration and treble, whatever, that word that I keep putting three other words with, too, that it creates like a fine mist that keeps rising up, to create that fog like mist that you guys had sailed through earlier.
Cypress will check himself. Make sure he wasn't. The boat did not shatter, right? The boat got
some
smacked and possibly damaged.
Yeah, it's got some fractures in it, but it's not smashed to pieces. It's just gonna need some mending and repairing before it can be used again.
Activated all the purple zones.
He will check himself, make sure no shrapnel in the crazy moment just like found its way but through his armor, and check that he's got his sword and that everyone's all right, and then look around for his shield, checking the Misto first.
As you're looking around for your shield, you might even say, "Where's my shield?" And you see it fall from the sky above you to the sand.
I will go get it.
Perfect.
Damn, I missed.
A Looney Tunes moment.
Is it all right?
Yeah, it seems fine. Just lodged in the sand a little bit from the fall, but otherwise unscathed. Astrid, what are you doing?
Brushes it off.
When she descends with Phoebe, she's gonna go check out the crew just immediately, looking for Eric's first.
Eric's was probably up on one of the crew members up on top with you, so she's gonna be, yeah, I would say like most of the ones who, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, everybody who was be up on the top deck, so would within visible sight would have been part of that bubble. So we'll just assume that Eric's was there. The red orc guy whose name is escaping me right now. I want to call him Tony, but it's because I'm thinking Tony the Tiger for whatever reason. Not very well. Tito? Yeah, that one. Thank you. And then you see it was a T in there. And then Oriotis was also up on top, but because Eric Okra, he can fly down. He probably was fine.
Then she'll go into the ship and try checking on those inside of there, and then those who were harmed. She can make like a board. And
yeah,
put
some
them
splints and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll say that after, I don't know, give it like 20-30 minutes of helping get some of those that were wounded down below up on the deck. I would like everyone to make a perception check to kind of look around their surroundings.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, does this look familiar in the dream?
Oh, you're at like you. I thought you said you were gonna ask, like, but then if you actually meant you were gonna ask. Sorry,
Yes, I was.
I was literally asking. Got it. I'm trying to remember what was part of the dream. I don't think this was part of it. I don't.
part of the dream, and what I have mentioned,
Yeah.
there was an island shrouded in a thundering mist.
Oh,
and we are
that
surrounded
part.
by thundering mist.
Yes. Yes. Then that part, yes. I just didn't know if you meant the shallows that you are currently in right now. But yes, the thundering mist that is behind you, that you can still kind of hear and almost feel that vibration of, and then the island that sits at its very center. All right, go ahead and sound off. What did you guys get?
12.
12,
15.
15,
21.
21. What was yours, Astrid? Say it again.
22.
22. Okay, there it is. And Themisto?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what is the roll?
Perception. Sorry.
I got a 19.
19.
The Misto gets a 21.
21. All right.
Wow.
Well, for everybody in general, you definitely see this wall of water that's behind you. The disturbed, trembling liquid almost looks gelatinous the way it is like wiggling. You see around you the shallows that look about maybe a foot of water. You can see sparsed out amongst the immediate horizon a few rocky outcroppings that look like they are now drying coral beds. Those who rolled above 15, you can see in the noticed in the distance that there are at least two other ships that looks like they have met a similar fate to yours, but have splintered much more than your ship has. And then those who rolled above 20 see that beyond those two ships, there are at least three others in different directions that are, you can see ships that are further in the horizon. And you kind of pick those out as well as seeing the island that looks maybe about a half to quarter, 3/4 mile away from where you're at currently. And it looks like a substantially large island, but also looks strange, though you can't really put your finger on why. It has this hazy obscureness to it. It's like hard for your eyes to focus on.
Cypress
I
will
think-
go over to Astrid. Sorry.
You go first.
Sorry. Cypress will go over to Astrid. Astrid, I don't know if there's any protocol for, he's like looking back at your ship, for this event, but I assume you're still captain. Is it all right to leave the ship?
Yes. For now. We take it to somewhere we can lift it, fix the damages, and see where we go from there.
Do we have to? He'll go. How close is the wall? Like, still fairly close to us if we walked for less than a minute. Are you muted? Can't hear you, Aaron.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, you're about like 20, 30 feet from where the ship is like this wall of water.
How do we get out of this?
We continue forward. The ship will have to wait.
I imagine that just the whole horizon is these water walls.
Yeah, it just goes in this circle that goes all the way until the distance covers. Also in this odd, like, hard to focus haze. Yeah.
My friends, I am sorry for what has befell us.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm so happy.
I
I don't
mean,
know what just happened.
you didn't have anything to do with this, did you? I don't know why you'd apologize.
I'm working on not being at fault for any matter of destruction. But I will say, at the end of my dream, that Lethe comforted that the gods would assist us when there was no way out. And it feels like there is no way out of how we got in here.
Might be for Astrid and Phoebe, though.
We don't know that Astrid flies yet.
Might be a way out for Phoebe, though.
None of us, not even Astrid knows.
So at least there's that. If we can't get a way out, one of us can. I wonder.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I imagine we're not going to be the only party down here, judging by the other ships.
Other ships look like they perished.
I do wonder if they were on a similar mission.
Whoever lived here before, long ago, was able to move in and out of this place. There must be another way to get out. If the gods help us, good, but there must be a logical way to get out of this place.
I don't know if I can focus on that. Only that we must get to its center and go from there. And just kind of look over my shoulder toward that obscure hazing of the island.
Thank you for saving us, Laertes. And he'll do a soldierly bow towards you.
He nods, but there's a bit of a solemn air to it because his vision kind of drifts over towards the ship. And he thinks about as much as he tried to keep the ship aloft, he just couldn't. And he's looking at it. It's not destroyed, but there's enough of it that's cracked and broken, suggesting of what's inside, and he just... I wish I could have done more.
I'm gonna say yes.
The people that were in the ship, did anyone die, or was it just broken
No.
bones?
There was several broken legs, a few bruises, and some maybe some sprains here and there. Lots of bruises, but yeah, no one lost. There was no loss of life. Just a lot of injuries and a lot of tousled and rummaged about.
We can help each other to the island. Catch up if we need to there. We leave the ship behind. Battle what we need to, and find a way out of here.
Well, I'm shockingly unhurt, so I can certainly go in front of whatever adventuring party is going forth.
Okay. Phoebe.
I don't want to speak for Themisto, so let me know if you disagree with any of this. I think when Cypress says, "Oh, there might be a way out for Phoebe," if he were to look over, they have like fallen a little off to the side, and for kind of just a second too long, or just like still staying where they've landed, still kind of holding on to each other.
Yes, I think as they tumbled into the water, right, like in very corny fashion, they would be right where like the water and the beach are meeting, and Phoebe will have tried to turn herself to take the brunt of the fall. So Themisto will be standing up off of her right now, with her like her snakes are in super alert mode, surveying the island. But yeah, they missed the first part of the conversation because they're talking to each other, I imagine. It's like, are you all right?
Are you alright?
Yes, you saved me.
I tried. I mean, we fell at the end, and
It's... Well, I'm at a loss for words.
if Laertes had not done what he did, I don't think I could have helped in the way that I was able to.
The ship. The snakes will have caught the attention, their attention pulled to the ship before Themisto herself, and she rotates and looks to it. Because if the people are hurt, I need to get over there to try to help them.
Yes, and I need to check on Astrid. I can't imagine that was easy for her.
And a couple of the snakes will have looked over at the beach, and Themisto is cognizant of the fact that the crew members and the party were all right standing on the shore.
You're still a ways off from the shore, so you're still currently in like at
Oh,
least a
standing
foot
in the
of water.
shallows,
In the
then,
shallows,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm picturing the water planet from Interstellar,
Mhm.
where it's just that
Yeah.
like foot and a half of water.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or that
Are we
weird
having to
like water
speak-
area from like the Willow TV show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of where this was inspired from. So, yes.
Are we having to speak loudly because of the
So,
waterfall?
there's not really so much of a waterfall. It's because it's just stationary. There is like a drone to the air. And like I said earlier, it sounds kind of like that, like a beehive, a distant beehive, but a really, it's just enough to where it almost tickles your ear. You know, when that, like, there's like that weird little vibration that's just enough to where you kind of feel it in your eardrum kind of thing. It's just at that frequency, just a tick below it. So it's not enough to actually give any sort of discomfort, but it's enough to where you can feel it, but sound doesn't seem to be affected by it. It's just this weird
Okay.
energy or hum in the air.
Now this is a question DM's hater, but it's important for my mechanical ability usage.
Mhm.
What is the water temperature? Because
Water temperature?
Themisto, if she's too cold for too long, starts to take disadvantage on strength and dexterity rolls. Because she is a little snaky. So
Interestingly enough, the closer maybe you walk to the water wall, the water's a little cooler, but because it's so shallow and it's still like day right now, it's not cold water. It's not warm, but it's not like it's cold either. It's this weird, it's this middle, it's just tepid.
And I say that in that with the solar wings, as they would have landed and it would have like faded after that minute, you would have felt a little residual warmth from that.
then Themisto's feeling good, if soggy.
Yeah.
But as we turn to go, I'm going to grab your arm. I'm very glad you're okay.
It's
I don't
thanks to
know
you.
what I would have done if I would have lost you.
Themisto's gonna give you a hug.
And I'll hug back, hold a little tighter.
And then she's going to go, we should check on the others.
Yes.
To which point you guys are just finished. The rest of you guys are just finished that conversation that you had just finished previously. As the Miss Stone Phoebe are walking up to you guys right now. Eric's comes over to you, Astrid. Captain, do you want us to go with you to the shore, or should we stay behind and try and repair the ship?
We will need supplies to raise the ship and repair the hull. Come with us to the island. For those who cannot walk.
That's just what my suggestion was going to be. Leave the wounded, the most wounded here with those to tend to them and to watch over the ship just in case that they are. She looks over at the other wrecked ships, that there are others who are equally as stranded. That they do not come to try and pirate our ship while we have our backs turned. But then we can see if there is shelter and or supplies further inland that we can use to bring out.
Put the work. Yes.
She puts a hand on your shoulder. We have survived and been through worse. I remember when the ship almost sank.
The Hawk has taken some hard slashes.
This was just a little bit of a trip. It's fine. It should be seaworthy before you know it. We just have to make sure that we are safe wherever we are.
I think we are in the place we're looking for.
Well, we better be, because otherwise we're not going anywhere else for a little bit at least. Alright. You four, you over there, go with the captain. I am not going to volunteer myself, but I will send Tithos. Wait, I didn't say that right. Did I?
Yeah, just Tito.
Okay.
Tithos
I don't know why I keep second guessing myself with his name, because I keep thinking Tito in Spanish, and that's why I was like, Titos. Tithos will go with you as well. I'll stay behind to make sure everyone doesn't get kidnapped, eaten, or do anything else that's foolish.
Light the fire if anything comes. I'll try to make it this way as
You want me to light the ship on fire?
and I'll look to there should be like a bowl type thing with.
Yeah, she was just
Okay.
yeah. She's just going, you want me to light the ship on fire? You can just give her a look and she's just like, I'm joking. She walks away. Just some gal pals doing gal pal things. Okay, so all right. You guys gather some of your things and some supplies. You have Tithos that goes with you. And then you'll have 4 red shirt crewmen that will go with you as well.
Oh no.
I'm so happy. I want to know what happens to Ensign Ricky.
Hannah goes,
eaten by
well.
the local wildlife.
What were you gonna say, Laertes?
As we're walking along, we're basically trudging through like a foot of water, right? It's that kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Was Penthos like just completely soaked through? Is he doing like the waterlogged Chewbacca thing right now? Yeah. Remembering, of course, that he caught me. My brain's kind of starting to catch up a little bit with the brain fog that happened after I tried to do something that extravagant, and I'm just going to lightly touch his arm, his upper arm, and there's this ripple wave that kind of goes through him, and it's like he just went to the salon and got a full blowout. He is, oh, this is gonna sound awful, drier than he's ever been in his life, maybe, but in a like shampooed and conditioned sort of way.
Wow. This is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna fluff my way toward the island.
Title of your sex tape.
Which is funny because now I'm imagining he's like all dry up on top, but then like below the knees is just like soggy
I
wet.
can only do so much based on circumstances.
No, I know, but it's just a great like it's like reverse fluffy boots, just like
Yeah,
everything's
he's
fun.
basically, spa day hip waders.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Astrid, you have with you Ilios, Onias, Actus, and Euphemia. Those are your crewmen from down below. We are now going to give them names so that they are not just random red shirts.
Red
Hey,
shirt
they at
number
least
1, red shirt number 2.
yeah.
What's your name, sailor?
Ilios.
Yeah.
Actus. What?
Yeah, I'll put the in the chat.
Crewman number 6.
I would like to say as we walk, Phoebe is going to stay very close to Themisto and kind of do that thing where you keep your hand out and free should any part of Themisto wish to grab it. I don't know if it will happen or not, but
I believe Mr. Wood, indeed.
They're just the best of friends.
Cypress
Yeah.
definitely clocks this.
as the champion of Aphrodite should.
I have to make notes.
Dear Aphrodite, today they decided to hold hands, and I was like, oh, good job.
She'll be like, oh, so slow.
Oh my gosh.
Being moved in together by
I was
now,
going to
damn
say,
it.
get that Subaru in the U-Haul already.
DM, as we move forward, Penthos is going to be trying to recognize anything from the dream, knowing that it is kind of impossible because it's just that weird kind of, hazy, obscure deja vu kind of thing.
Mhm.
But anything to be helpful, but also trying to get, maybe affirmation is the right word, if we're kind of walking by water, to hear from Lethe or see some sort of sign that we are on the right path, and after seeing how like emotionally affected everyone is.
Right.
By the way, I will say that Laertes, when you were kind of feeling like you wish you would have done more, that was like a deeper feeling, like the kind of at fault, and Astrid with the concern for your ship and your shipmates. That was heavy.
Hey. All right. That being said, who is leading the charge as you guys are walking toward the island? Also, did we establish what time of day? It's still in the morning, right? Or
So there's-
midday?
We left pretty early from
Yeah.
the camp.
Yeah, so
Unless,
it's about noon. I just was trying to keep track of the day. I was like, I think it's noonish.
Unless Astrid is up front as well, I would probably be willfully marching forth.
In that case, I need you to give me a survival check, please.
Oh no. That's not good. But
Hey,
the
May
roll
I
was
assist?
You're leading. You're leading.
18.
I mean-
DM, can I assist by saying, like, this is from my dream. Over here, I remember this.
Sure, I will allow you to do it with advantage.
Why, thank you. We will keep the first one at an 18.
Okay.
Thank you.
As you trek through, oh, go ahead, Themisto. What were you gonna say?
So, before we get too underway, Themisto would have liked to have performed a prayer ritual for the crew members on the ship who may be wounded, because I've got a prayer of healing that can heal a lot of people, and it seems like I would be derelict in my priestess duties if I didn't use it.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so now continue. I will just figure out how much the healing does on that. But thank you. Wanted
The
to make
Mister,
sure
we
that
don't
that was
have
noted.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy enough that you can do that while everyone's gathering their stuff from inside the ship and all that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So,
I won't go through describing it because we have exploring to do.
but
Yeah, if there's
go ahead.
if there's anything to look out for, Cyprus is following Penthos's lead for visual landmarks that were in the ethereum of his dream, but particularly he's keeping an eye out for signs of life, and he suspects other crew or whoever lives here. Not our crew, but other
Right.
crews.
You continue to walk along the waters here. And it's very much like you're at one of those sandy beach resorts. The water is crystal clear. You can see the soft sand stretching out in all directions, and it's already achieved that like little wavy ripple to the bottom that shallow waters normally get when it comes to sand. It has that little wavy pattern to go out in all directions. You pass by a couple of rocky outcroppings that you can see have already been in the sun for a couple of days now, where a lot of maybe what vibrant coral or sponge life had been on there is now starting to dry. And with that survival check, occasionally as you were walking, Cyprus, you see oddities moving through the water in the distance. Nice. You see oddities moving through the distance where it's almost like the water moves within the water, like some sort of gelatinous thing, long and tendril like, that just kind of like swirls and doesn't go really towards you as much as it just moves through the water. And it looks weird, and for a second you can see it, and then it kind of blends in and disappears with the crowd, with the rest of the water.
There does appear to be life of some sort here. I don't know if it's... And he's saying this to Penthos, most likely. Things in the water, but not necessarily predators or threatening. Hard to know if it's not actively attacking. I don't recognize them.
Okay. Well, I don't know who had their hands up first,
Phoebe.
between Phoebe. All right, go for it, Phoebe.
This is just a quick flavor thing, but since we're in the water, and Phoebe is in a long dress, she will tie it up at her like knees. And Astrid, I think it's in a very similar fashion to what you've seen like women along the shore in your times at like different ports.
Yes.
That's it.
Seems that this whole place was underwater days ago. The coral here is now just starting to die.
Was that to anyone in particular?
To all of you.
It's a very interesting observation.
It's like the events that happened over the last couple of days was triggered, and this place was released during that time.
Might this be the domain of Poseidon?
It would make some kind of sense. Perhaps in the great fights was not something that will happen that the Mister saw, but something that did. Maybe that great battle revealed this place.
Astrid, make an investigation check for me.
Is it related to this place?
Yes. By the way, is with what you sent me just now about Natural Explorer, is that your chosen whatever, I can't remember what it's called, favorite terrain is the sea? All right, cool. Good to know.
19.
19? As you're talking about you guys kind of pause for a second around one of the larger rock formations. And Astrid, you notice something peculiar that reminds you of call it a treasure trove secret of the Triton folk that you kind of grew up around. And you find a bunch of oysters, very particular oysters. They are famous for their very rare and very beautiful pearls. If you were to invest or do anything about it, it's up to you, but I'm just saying you notice that there's a small little batch of them hidden under a rock.
How many do we see them?
You what? I'm sorry, couldn't understand you.
How many do I see?
How many do you see? There's like 6 of them.
She's going to take 2. And she'll shuck them as they walk.
You get 2 large pearls worth about 20 gold each. All right.
She shucks them. She'll say, "We are someplace very special."
As you continue to walk, Laertes, go for it. Sorry.
Oh, just a quick point of order.
No, you're good.
After I would have helped Penthos with his blowout, I would have seen to everyone, making sure that they were kind of sorted too. There's no point in us walking around all, soaked to the bone in uncomfortable ways. And even for the red shirts, just making sure that everybody's trudging through as much as they can. Okay.
Okay. To that effect, so you have Ilios and Onias that are 2 human men. You have Euphemia, which is a human woman, and then you have Octus, which is a Spartan / hobgoblin man. Let's see. Oh,
Can I ask a question, Dean,
sure.
by the way?
Yes.
Kind of an addendum to the observation thing that I mentioned earlier. I think what I would be most concerned with is the warning from Lethe about the beast. And I would be focusing heavily on something that is not tangible, really, which is that feeling of being watched, and kind of focusing on how many eyes this thing had. And since falling out of the sky is quite a noticeable thing,
One would assume.
I'd try to be hyper aware of us being aware,
Yeah,
I guess.
I gotcha. See something real quick. Let's do this one. As you are walking, you come across a deeper section. You're still walking in about a foot of water, but you see over off to the side, we'll say on your left side, where it starts to like look like it's carved away. And the longer that you look at it, you realize that there's like a trench or furrow that is carved into the sand and into the bedrock itself, as if something. And you see that its widest part is where you were started to walk past, and it slowly becomes more narrow the closer you get to the island, as if something had slammed into the ground here and just like it's almost like a comet impact or something, where it just like been shoved all the way back.
So it's irregular. It doesn't look like it was engineered this way.
Correct.
Okay.
Remisto, didn't you see something falling from the sky in your dream?
Yes, I did. It was a ball of light. It looked like it had its own power. It could move, but it was dragged by a large, like a tentacle, like an octopus.
More and more, I think this is the place where that battle took place.
That would make sense to me. In which case, we are where we need to be.
Would Cypress have overheard that conversation?
Yeah, I don't think that was trying to be like secret or anything. It was just that like group observation of the trench.
The tentacled creature in your vision, did it rise from the waves, or?
I could not see all of it. It lived inside the sea.
Because I wonder if it can't survive in the sea. But it is down here. It would be a very costly choice, but if we could find whatever's holding those waves up.
My vision gave me no clarity about this, or what it would take to beat such a beast.
Obviously, that would be a bit of a last resort. It's probably a bad idea anyway. Bad idea.
Astrid or Laertes, in your encounters or your studies, have you ever heard or seen anything like this before?
I was actually about to ask the DM something similar in that, does any of this strike him as familiar, especially in regards to the Priory? Is there any telltale sign of that kind of architecture or, how do I put this? It's like engineered landscape. In my mind,
Yeah.
I'm kind of seeing that that Japanese airport island that they just built in the middle of the ocean.
No, not necessarily, because right now it definitely looks like you're walking on what had been the bottom of the ocean. It doesn't really give you any sort of pre-constructed. Now, I spoke earlier when you guys were at the ship that the island appeared to be hazy. But as you're walking closer to the island doesn't have a haze to it, but your vision does become clearer the closer you get to it. And instead now, the reverse is true. You can still see the water wall and where the ship is, but there is this odd haze to the air, almost as if that odd vibration that you had felt closer to the ship, which you don't feel so much now, had something to do with your blurred vision, as if the air was vibrating in such a way that it was kind of making distances hard to focus. In fact, go ahead. We're going to say Astrid?
Like heat waves in a desert, but
Kind of,
reversed.
yeah. So instead of it like shifting and like moving like heat, it just looks hazy. It's like looking through like a fog. But you notice now as you get further away from that wall that that vibration is less and less, that it is more, that it is calmer here. And that almost as you're looking out to the horizon, you can see a haze that kind of makes a wall right where that water wall is, so that even the sky, the clouds that are above you, kind of have a weird trembly nature to them, whereas like you can't really focus.
So that I can more properly answer Themisto's question, there's nothing he's read about that even comes close to something like this, is there?
Some things, maybe. Make me a history check for me, if you will.
I can do that.
What were we gonna say, Astrid?
As we're walking, can we try to start going more towards that furrow and like the end impact of it, like where it like
So-
slows down?
Basically, from if you were from where you were at, it's as if something from the island had been thrown outwards, and that
Okay.
the deepest impact had been where you first started, or where you were first walking past it. So the closer to the island that you get, it looks narrower, as if that's where whatever it was had first struck, and then it ended further back. Does that make sense?
I think what she's trying to like determine like how big the thing was that.
Oh, okay.
was
So that would have
thrown.
been, so that would have been something when you first saw it. And maybe just judging from what you can kind of see, you're looking at maybe 20 feet wide at its widest. And then it just narrows down further. But it goes deep. It cuts down probably like 15 feet. So whatever had struck here had struck with great force. Between Laertes and Penthos, I don't.
Penthos.
Okay, go for it, Penthos.
If it was something that struck the ground and just water's natural erosive capabilities, is there fragments of anything like embedded in the seafloor from whatever this might have been?
If you wanted to like dive down and look around, you could maybe see, but nothing that's right there on the sandy edge. And then if you get like close, you can feel the sand start to give way to like sink down in that direction. But if you wanted to dive into the deeper section, it's not like it's that deep, but still, if you wanted to dive down and look around, then you could do that.
I do, yeah. I'll use my strength to just like kind of like put my limbs into the sand and just try to feel around to see if there's any sort of, knowing what I saw in the dream of just fragments of something, maybe
Okay.
I can pull something out while they're doing calculations and whatnot.
Sure. Laertes, what were you gonna say?
I had rolled an 11 for history.
Okay. Nothing that pops to the top of your mind. You feel like there may have been mention of something like that, like something like
third
this.
and fourth
but-
story.
Yeah, so it's kind of
stories.
yeah, so it's kind of hard to decipher, but it's maybe maybe you could have heard
A
something.
mention of a mention on a
Yeah.
broken piece of old kingdom
Written on
pottery.
the back of a
yeah.
like, Hellenic toilet somewhere. It's
Penthos sucks.
Sorry, Themisto.
Wait, Penthos. I did not mean Penthos. That was meant to be.
Wow.
Damn it.
Oof.
That was supposed to be
As-
the fear god, but instead the first one
Phobos.
named it my. Thank you.
That one. Astrid, what were you gonna say?
Okay, so
continuing to look at the furrow, does it seem like it, whatever it was, crashed, and then over time things like settled on top of it, or this seemed to have been like a newer impact?
Newer impact.
Oh, okay.
Like it wasn't long enough for it to have been filled in by the sands right now. There's and even if you dip your head into the water and look down inside, you can see that there's like maybe like a foot or 2 or 3 of sand before it hits like bedrock kind of thing. And even that bedrock at the very bottom of that, like we'll say it's a 15 foot at its deepest, the bottom, like maybe you're guesstimating at like a foot or 2 is sand that has like slowly gone down. So you know that it's kind of seeping down a little bit. So it had to have happened within the last few days.
I'm going to mention that to Evie and Themisto. Those are my findings.
Penthos, as you're searching around, you don't really feel anything but sand. Go ahead and make an investigation check for me, if you will. Themisto, what were you going to say?
Themisto just looks expectantly at Laertes, saying that he was on the edge of a thought.
I've read bits and pieces of stories that seem to quote each other, but there's no primary source. This is all new to me.
And I have no stories from the gods about this either.
I look over at the blue bomber, who is clearly wanting to say something.
5 total. Love that for you. Yeah, you get a nice piece of bedrock. Nice little shard of it.
Cool.
You didn't come up empty-handed. It's a piece of rock. Throws it back in the water. It's a rock. Thanks. Cypress, we're going to say.
Just putting thought or words to a fear that I have. One of you mentioned that these wrecks might be from other people sent on the same mission or having the same goal as us. I hope that is not the case. Because I was not alerted to any other groups like us. It makes it seem more like this is a trap.
The couple did tell us that ships come here and they don't come back. But we did not ask how recent that has been. If this happened within the last few days after the storm, perhaps that fear is recent and not an old story of a dark place.
You would think that a place such as this, if it was not recent, the stories would have made it around.
There's one thing we Greeks love, it is stories about great adventures in mysterious places, so you're right.
But would the gods find other Orphics like us, send them to an accidental death over and over, and simply look for another group without telling them to watch out for the water walls?
Be careful what you say about the gods. We are here on a mission from them, after all.
It's true. That's simply a concern that I have.
Sometimes those concerns are best kept to yourself, I think.
Anyway,
Oh, I love that so much.
sent to find the cause of the storm, and if this is it, then perhaps these are not other Orphics, but just ships caught in the great storm. We have seen wreckage up and down the coast. This could have been more casualties because of it.
Astrid will come to a realization and take out her spyglass, pointing it at one of the wrecked ships aside from ours.
Mm-hmm.
Wants to determine how long ago it seemed to have been, like, crashed, and if it had like water had risen above it and then it came back down again, and like sea life had kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a perception check for me.
no 12.
Even with a 12, because of your knowledge of the sea, it doesn't look like they've been here for long. How long exactly? It's hard. You can't tell, especially because still, even looking through the spyglass, there's that weird haze that kind of makes it difficult to see, right? So the details kind of elude you, but you swear you can still see the fresher looking grain of the splintered wood in certain pieces. So it doesn't look like it's been soaked through or gotten moldy per se. It had to have been somewhat recent at least.
Those people said that this place was cursed, and you see that stories take time to form. If this is a place that where this kind of thing happens often and over time, then I think there would be more ships here. More ships that have been decayed.
The wisdom of a sailor is the best we have to use right now, and I trust our Capitanius.
I feel like we only have so much time before the water here rises to its original depth again.
By the way, standing here is not going to get us any answers.
Really, I
Agreed.
think I should continue. Laertes, by the way, I did not thank you for what you did when we fell over. I would have not been able to help if you had not suspended everyone in that miraculous way.
Yes, your understanding of the world is incredible.
I'm surprised it even worked, to be perfectly honest.
A blessing, truly.
Indeed.
Cypress, as you guys are continuing to walk, you see one of the crewmen walking towards a spot in the sand of the below the water that doesn't have the same rippled texture. It's like this small patch of sand that just looks flat and almost misty compared to the sand that kind of surrounds it. He's like 2 steps from walking into it.
He hasn't walked into it yet.
No, he's like 1,
No.
2.
No.
He's
Hold.
he's like foot's above, it's about to like put it down. What?
Stay for a moment. Look,
What?
something's different about that spot.
What spot? I don't see anything.
Stand still. Or back. That's even better. And
You see Octus, we'll say this is Octus, as he does it. He looks over at Astrid as if in confirmation of like, do I listen to this kid?
Maybe one of those creatures we've seen swimming around.
He puts his foot down carefully next to his other one.
Don't know
if
what
I'm wrong, then you have every right to think that this is stupid. But if I'm right, he's going to pull out a javelin.
Okay.
Anyone opposed to me gently testing this spot?
use the blunt end.
Maybe do it from far back and see if you can throw it. I would hate for something to explode in your face.
He'll back up a bit, but he will try to javelin throw one into this spot.
You throw the javelin. And it disappears into the sand. Like
that is not what I
it
thought would
goes,
happen.
vroom. It just keeps going, and it's completely gone, consumed in the sand. You see the sand kind of like and cover back up where it was at.
You were right to warn us about quicksand.
I don't know if that's what that was, but it could be. Didn't tell us much, but
Yes, let's not step there.
Just a moment. Laertes is going to get a little closer to whatever that was, but trying to remain mindful of other such discolorations that might signal more of those awful things. And he's just going to try and reach out with his mind and try to extract the javelin from that, what may or may not be quicksand.
How far can you reach?
30 feet.
Or you're using Mage Hand, basically, right?
Yeah, the sort of slightly doctored version
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we did for this.
Your mind reaches around for something tangible to grasp onto. And instead, you find shifting. What's the word? It's like particulate, or so it's like super is not really even sand. It's something even finer. It's almost like the misty suggestion. It's like the matcha powder of sand. It's
Straight.
substrate, maybe that, yeah. There's a word for it, but it's just like it's so super fine that it's like almost indistinguishable from the water around it, but you can tell that there's just it's like a mineral like or sand like substance. It's just so fine in this one spot that you can kind of like move that your mind through it and you can feel it shift, but it's as if there was nothing there, and you reach as far down as you can, and you feel no bottom. You can feel the edges of what feels like a circular like shaft or tunnel that goes downwards, and it does seem natural. It doesn't seem like it was carved or anything, because you can feel that the edges are not broken, but
Rough, irregular.
yeah, irregular. That was what I was looking for. It's not like a smooth like laser beam
bore,
drill.
it's a-
Yeah. It's just kind of like this natural made chasm in the ground here that just was filled with this really fine sand.
Basically, this could have been a series of little like creature digging sort of things, or lava tube, or just sinkhole. Like, it's just so innocuous is what I'm kind of getting from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Just I'm sorry, Cypress. I think that's gone forever.
there are worse things to lose down a bottomless hole.
Yeah, like me.
Just-
I
Will
just-
mark off that that I have one less javelin.
Octus goes over to you. Cypress puts a hand on your shoulder and like roughly squeezes and shakes you a little bit, and is just like, "I'll make sure to buy you a new one when we get to the next port."
You don't need to, but that's kind.
You saved my life. I would have been at the bottom of whatever that was.
I mean, we're all looking out for each other, right?
He looks over at Astrid.
you are
Sure.
But you are very welcome. I can't promise that every thing that makes me suddenly stop will be actually worth our time stopping for it, but
Stop! A squirrel!
if we saw one of those down here, absolutely.
Stop! A kind old lady!
Again, that is something I would make a stop for.
Can't afford to miss the cookies that she is selling.
As we walk, I think I shall stay closer to the middle. If I see one of you suddenly sink into oblivion, I think if I know what's happening, I could possibly help.
Well, thankfully to Cypress's survival check earlier, He avoided this pitfall, quite literally, no pun intended. Astrid, what were you gonna say?
Those gelatin-like creatures that were like swimming through.
Mhm.
Did the way that they moved and the way that it looked in the water, did that remind Astrid of the time she first met Cypress and that watery thing was?
Not so
Ripple?
much.
Okay.
This looked more almost like if a jellyfish and an eel had a weird amalgamation of a thing.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, so it's not, and they're not everywhere. It was just that one moment where you kind of saw them swimming kind of close by curiously, and then they kind of eventually drifted off. Nice. Jellyfish. Congratulations, you have just made a new thing canon. Beware the jellyfish. They are creatures of your nightmares, because you will never see them until it's too late. All right. Well, within short order, you guys managed to make it up to the beach. There's not much in the way of waves happening here. In fact, it's kind of like you're on the edges of a lake or something, where it's just like the little gentle lapping of the water at the edges of the sandy shore. The same kind of sand that you've been walking on this entire time, and you can see even up to this point, it's for a portion of the beach in front of you. It still appears as if you are underwater, or would have been under the seabed, as you can see larger rock outcroppings, and even what looks like stone structures that have long been buried beneath the sea, where barnacle and other sorts of ocean depth life had started to create a home over the ruins of what had to have been old parts of the old kingdom. However, after maybe 4 or 5 paces beyond some of these sections, vibrant jungle still remains lush and brilliant. And then beyond certain other sections, you can see tall pillars of rock, almost obelisk-like, where the bottom of it looks, where you can see vine having grown up parts of it, where it suddenly is stopped, and then the rest of that upper half is covered in barnacle and coral, as if pieces of this island had been subjected to water for near 1,000 years, and others not. And what you see beyond, we will have to wait until after the break to find out.
Dang it.
As it is that time to refill your glasses and then wipe off your glasses or whatever.
No need
whatever
water.
you
We're
need.
at the bottom of the ocean. There's
Whatever.
water everywhere.
Whatever you need.
To drink.
Yeah, exactly. Can't drink this water. It's nasty, salty. Blech. All right, we'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. boom. We back. Sure, it's just my safe word. Oh, it's really great. Except for the fact that then, what if you were just having to say, we don't have insurance for this, but it wasn't necessarily what you meant at the moment.
You're overthinking it, Aaron. Also,
Okay.
this is why you don't look at chat. You just
I
keep
mean,
it to the side and you
yeah.
just don't worry about it.
I mean, I can't help it. I gotta look every now and then. I gotta look. Never mind. That was no. Yeah. Whatever. All right.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah. Whatever, Cray. Whatever. You're becoming here fans of YouTube? I love it. Okay. Well. I like to be Vix, you're the best. Love it. Love it. Oh, beautiful. We have such beautiful people here. It's just so great. So great. Okay. So you can envision now what you see before you. A rocky beach. Well, sandy beach, but with like lots of rocks on it, right? As the sand goes up. But then dotted beyond some of those rocks, you can see lush jungle, which doesn't make sense coming from the fact that that this place was literally under the water what seems like a few days ago. Yet the jungle that you see seems vibrant enough to have been, and thick enough to have been here for a long, long time, as evidenced by the fact that the ocean growth on everything that had been beneath the water looks like it had been here for a long, long time as well. In fact, you can, as I said, you can see some of those obelisk-like tower structures that are probably 100, 200 feet into the jungle, where they have that like cap of jungle growth that has grown up them, and then ocean growth beyond that. You can see, we'll say probably about 50 feet up the beach, where a large stone block looks to have been overtaken with barnacles and coral, and then beyond that into the jungle you can see that it has a dark, smooth, almost obsidian slate gray like coloration to it, covered a little bit with vines, and that substance, Laertes, looks very reminiscent. In fact, those of you who had been there in the Priory, this looks very reminiscent of the same kind of material seen in the building at the Priory.
So what was the part that it's made out of that material?
It's just like a block.
It's stones. Okay.
It's just like a block that sits probably about 50 feet from you, that's just sitting there on the side of the beach.
Okay. I don't necessarily just start running towards it as much as I definitely take a... my brain's starting to go already. Walking with purpose towards it. Wow. Can I process? More wine.
That'll help.
We're gonna do some drunk science.
Woo! Phoebe.
My lungs are burning.
Have you seen sorry, you're first.
What were you gonna say, Phoebe?
I don't want to take you away from the Laertes stuff because I was gonna ask Penthos something.
Oh, okay. What were you gonna say, Astrid, then? While Laertes is running over there?
Have you seen Shadow and Bone?
No, not all of it.
No. Character with the character with the cane. He, I don't know, kind of feels like Laertes. I was just gonna compare the two.
Mm.
Yes, Brecker.
The mister's going to follow Laertes.
All right. All right. So Laertes, you're going over there to the rock.
That's the closest thing, right? Because
Yeah.
there's the rock, and then there's an obelisk or 12 somewhere in the distance, right? Is what
Mhm.
like somewhere in the forest or
It's
jungle?
deeper in the jungle. Uh huh.
Okay. Yeah. Go to the rock first. Like, how ginormous is that?
This stone block, it's somewhat rectangular in shape. Then there's like at least 2 smooth sides you can see, but you can see the other is torn and ragged, looking as if this piece had been part of a larger structure, but is no longer attached to.
Mhm.
And the way its placement, this had to have been sitting here since the collapse, since the fall.
Okay. Now I was gonna ask if it looked like a
It looks
recent
like it's been
breakage
here.
or-
No, this
yeah,
looks like it's been here for a long, long time.
well
growth-
embedded into the ground.
The
Okay.
growth on both sides has shown as much that it is oddly in 2. It's almost like it's in 2 different time zones in once. This is gonna be well. This is what it made me think of when I was writing this out. There is a. This is a Destiny thing that happens on Mars where there's like a time variation. Do you remember it, Themisto, where it's like you can see past Mars and present Mars? And I remember there was a word
There's
that
like
they
a
used.
little, there's like a weird little mirage essentially where you can see like crops growing and the air is clearer, and then you also see like that dusty landscape.
And in that same sort of stark difference, you see seabed, sand, corals, and literally butting up against it, vines, ferns, moss, earth, ground. And as you approach it, there is ever so slightly another thrum in the air, but nowhere near as powerful or as potent as the one that you had felt by the water wall. But there's still something of a vibration in the air.
My working theory in my brain that Laertes isn't going to shout out, but he does start to wander through it, is looking at the obelisk, and that there was also the same issue. That's from what we could see already, is what you were saying.
That what?
That the obelisk was having a similar issue where there was a
Yeah,
bit of growth,
but it's
and then
it's
towards the top though.
correct.
Okay. So the theory in his head is either that's the way it was designed, whatever it was, if this was holding back the water and that was the edge. And that was sort of like the line. And so on one side, of course, you're going to have the jungle. The other side, you're going to have coral and sea growth. So that would explain, at least in his mind, why this forest or jungle would exist untouched. But trying to figure out if this wall, whatever it was that was holding back the tide, literally, had begun to recede. Is there evidence of it scaling back in any way?
No.
Okay.
No. In fact, do you walk across that line or barrier?
Yeah, assuming it doesn't catapult him into oblivion, yeah.
You take a step through it, and there is the slightest little buzz on your skin and a shimmer to the air, but you walk through what feels like an invisible barrier of sorts. And just on the other side, you can feel a different air. It feels humid,
Balmy.
balmy. It smells of rich earth. It's as if you have stepped from sea to dense jungle in just that moment. And I would assume the scientific side of you kind of does the little step one side, step to the other to kind of like test if
Oh,
it's.
there's a Homer Simpson clip in my mind playing right now as you do that. For just a brief moment, yeah, I'll kind of like straddle that line, giggity, and kind of just experience both. But it's not. Well, you were talking about the time zone thing. It doesn't feel like a time shift. He would be fairly attuned to that difference.
Which is funny because we were talking about the the water planet
Yeah.
with which also has a time jump in it, but yeah, no, it's
You have
not
to
like
be
that.
on it though for that to matter. But he was, yeah. So his initial idea of this is some sort of wall edge line that is delineating between the two, and while he can't quite understand his exact workings yet, he at least understands the idea of it pretty quickly, I would say. And he's gonna kind of just fully step onto the jungle side, and he'll start calling out to the others, particularly Themisto, who had followed him. Just, I think we have an answer as to how this place has existed alongside an ocean and continued ocean growth. Assuming that my voice even travels through this, and it's not just lost in the home.
It does.
Okay.
Is Laertes like motioning in any way? And would Themisto smart enough to kind of catch on without him having to outright say it? Like she can just go, oh yeah.
He would be taking into consideration the obelisk and the distance, and that's it. I don't know if that's what's causing it or used to. I don't know if this is still functioning the way it's supposed to. But something here or someone is literally holding back the tide, or was.
Then perhaps Phoebe was right, and this is the realm of Poseidon. He's the only god that I know that would do something like that.
If I assume if we go a little further, we'll start to get some answers on that.
Keep your eye out for the sign of a bull or a trident or a seahorse. All three together would be better.
On the piece of stone near us, do we see any kind of iconography, symbology?
No, this stone is really smooth.
So just like a brutalist chunk of concrete, effectively. Nothing. Okay.
As you were looking around the beach, Astrid, about 80 feet over to the right from where you guys had walked up, you see what looks like a now dead fire pit with some crates and stuff around it.
Seems we're not the only ones here. Maybe the others from the other ships.
Should we try to get their attention?
I think they went into the jungle. Their fire pit is dead.
Phoebe, what were you gonna say?
I want to keep like a close eye on Penthos. You ever seen material like this before? As I point out, like that old kingdom rock that we know the priory was also built out of. I want to try to get a read on him, how he reacts, and see if there's any familiarity that crosses his face.
Penthos, make a
Give me
history
an
check.
insight check.
Well, let me see one
Okay.
thing first, and then.
Seven. Don't laugh at my 7.
No, 'cause-
Incredibly rude.
So we know
Best I
Sawagan
can
are not
do.
about to attack because that's an 8.
You've seen stone like this in ruins before, but nothing specific beyond that.
Okay, I will have a very confused and struggling to remember look on my face, but nothing like aha, just. I'll probably, touch what I can, especially that stone that's kind of smoothed over.
Yeah.
You said.
It's all right. I was just curious how much Lethe might have said.
All I remember is nothing final or solidified. It was grand in scale, the scattering of what was here. I wish I had more answers than that.
You said there were some things she didn't want to be remembered.
Yes.
Could this be one of them?
As he kind of like really froze his brow. Perhaps.
I do not think she could be that at odds with Apollo. She sent you to us.
I'll give a smirk. The frowny smirk.
Can I insight check that look?
Sure.
What do you mean with your smirk? That's only a 9.
I'll tell you, it's just a nice thing to say.
Oh.
He said a nice thing. Made me feel good.
He's just not good at the peopling, I think is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true.
Larities, what were you gonna say?
Well, 2 things related to the presumptive barrier. How far is the wall from the current layer of water? Like 20 feet, 30 feet?
How far is the wall of water?
Just any water, like the one we were walking through to get here, like the beach-ish, to get up to this rock.
The rock was about 50 feet from the shoreline.
Okay.
Shoreline.
Everything's relative. So he's gonna go another like 20 feet on the cold side of the barrier. He's going to reach out and invisibly lift up a like a small swirling mass of water. I kind of just, if you've ever seen videos of like droplets floating on the space station, that sort of like globular mass, he kind of calls it forth to himself and tries to see if he can push water through the barrier, if it acts that way or not. And either way, I have a follow-up.
I was
Mr.
like,
Snakes watch the little blob of water. You can see their heads like tilting.
all of a sudden I'm getting Sonder flashbacks. So globules of water floating everywhere. As the water
More of a
floats,
reality bender than a water bender, but I'll take it.
as the water floats through the air, it comes in contact with the surface of the barrier, the invisible one. You see it begin to, I guess the effect would look something akin to a very fast cheese grater, like one of those Parmesan cheese graters. So just like it goes by like this, and the globule just vibrates so intensely that the water kind of spreads across a barrier that is invisible. and just kind of
It
turns
kinda,
to
like,
mist.
beads off.
It beads
Oh, okay.
off, and then it eventually like becomes mist. Very similar, in fact, to the way that the water wall over by the ship vibrates so much that there's like a mist that roils off of it up and into the air.
So my follow-up is based on where the actual edge, because I can get a clear line of it from the stone and probably the surrounding ground of where the actual line is, basing it on the line going horizontally at the top of the obelisk. Can I extrapolate the size of this barrier?
As you've approached the island and only having seen it for such a brief moment from the air, you've already established that the island's miles wide, easily. The arc that the barrier is kind of weaving upwards would seem to indicate that at some point it kind of would peak out over the over towards where that obelisk is, because the obelisk is probably like 200-300 feet into the jungle from where you're at, so it's not terribly far. But even still, even at this angle, you can see that there is a little bit of an angle to the growth line on the obelisk itself, meaning that it will still curve upwards beyond that.
That's what I was trying to figure out, if that was the epicenter or if it was just caught in it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know. I don't know if that actually answers anything, but that
Gives you
seemed
some
interesting to
ideas.
know. Yeah. But as that little experiment kind of proves something, he'll just go back through the wall and see if somehow it catches the water in his body and he's just sort of scintillates on the surface for a minute, or if he can just pass right back through again without any issue.
No, you can pass right through it. It seems to be actually
Oh, I had to ask a follow-up, didn't I?
no, because it just occurred to me. You will maybe in this process would have realized that you are dry, having passed through it.
Or more so than I was anyways. Okay. Interesting.
The misto is still pretty damp. Seeing you step through it and like it like car wash air dry you, she's gonna take a lap around it.
Yeah. And as soon as you walk through, you again, it feels like it's a little bit of a hair raise, kind of like when you rub your socks on the ground and you can feel that charge building up in your arms and you're like, I'm all powerful. That kind of moment. That's kind of that kind of moment where you walk through it and you kind of feel a little bit of a static charge coursing through you. But
Her snakes are like really wiggly for a moment.
But once you pass through the other side, you are dry. Or at
After
least have dried
having-
off. Yeah.
After having said my little thing with Penthos, I'll go ahead and walk through.
Cypress, who has been somewhat, as is typical for him, a little bit baffled and therefore not introspective of all this, will also go through.
Same.
Oh, there you are.
That's what you'll pass through. On the other side, she's going to look for signs of smoke, for fire.
Make a perception check for me. Also, did you say anything beyond just seeing the fire pit? Did you guys go over there, or are you leaving it be? Okay. Make a perception check.
D4?
It's D4. No signs of smoke or anything immediately.
Look out. Or signs of like civilization or that kind of thing.
That deeper into the center of the island, you see larger masses, almost like as if there was a large mountain that sits in its center. Very much in the cliched island in the middle of the ocean, though the volcano at its center. It seems to have a sort of peak-like structure there closer to the center.
Does it give off volcanic vibes or more priory vibes? Because wasn't that also like pyramid in shape? The priory.
Right now it's kind of hard to tell from this distance. It's still a good 3-4 miles away, you would guess, from where you were at right now.
I'll whisper to Themisto then, because I still don't know how much Penthos knows, so I don't want him to hear. Do you think this could be another priory?
There is a chance.
Especially if this is the home of someone like Apollo. I mean, Poseidon.
This seems to be Old Kingdom tech. It would make sense that there's a place like that.
Well,
I think
we'll know more as we go forward.
I think we head towards that ship then.
She'll say that out loud, because Astrid, Cypress, did you find anything at the fire pit?
Not in particular.
There were storage crates there as well, but I did not. We didn't check them out. I didn't want to disturb. If maybe we'll do something else.
I think before we go in the jungle, it is worth a look. A quick one, anyway.
We just won't take anything that's not ours until we know the fate of those who started that fire.
Okay. Who's going over there?
Okay.
No, I'm asking who's going over. Themisto?
I'll go as well.
There you go. Okay. Sweet. The three of you, as you go over there, make a investigation check for me.
$11.
18.
What'd you say, Astrid?
15.
15. Okay. The crates are what may have at one point contained maybe rations or something. More along the lines of like carrying fruit. They're more like those kind of crates, and they are currently empty. The ember, there are no warm embers, feeling like it has been used anytime recently. But you do see that wrapped up with some netting and some other driftwood is sail material.
There are shrines and it smells of citrus, but empty. So, if it was full at one time, people ate it all or took it with them. And sailcloth?
Has been since the initial incident. Sailcloth. Perhaps.
Themisto will bend down and pick it up and hand it to Astrid.
Is it ripped? The sailcloth?
Parts of it are. As you pull it up, you see that there are the beginnings of a large design or emblem on the sail itself. And the more you pull up, you realize that this is like the entirety of a mast. It's just been rolled up and like set down onto the ground, like they had used it like maybe as a tent or a tarp or something.
Yeah. What is the emblem that is on the ship?
It's a dolphin.
The
Oh my gosh! Oh!
The symbol of Apollo. Or one of them
no.
anyway.
Oh my god!
Okay. Sorry.
For those of you in chat who may be confused, we did a one-shot prior to the start of this game, and I think we're coming across our old characters.
Oh, I hope they're all right.
Okay. Dolphin.
Astrid, actually make a history check for me.
And recognize the ship.
Mm-hmm.
13.
Was the dolphin painted to look like a shark?
Oh yeah.
You do recognize the sail of this ship as it was in the harbor with you in Ilum on the day you arrived into port.
Remember any colorful characters that were on the ship?
Interestingly enough, it is just a dolphin. It has not been destroyed, tampered, or desecrated with. I love that this song decides to play now.
The people who are stuck here. Maybe we can work with them. The dolphin is a noble animal.
Yes, as I said, that is one of the symbols of Apollo. So, that is a good sign.
I think it all depends on what else we find here.
Then onward.
All right. You three make your way back to the rest of the group and begin to walk deeper into the jungle.
So maybe this is a sign from Apollo that we are on the right path.
It could be. Gosh. It could be that we will have someone to help us, or someone we are meant to help.
The further you go into the jungles, and you have to kind of make your way carefully as there's no real path for you to follow at the moment. You just have to kind of pick the best route around the really dense underbrush that is found there. Who is leading the way for this?
Weirdly, I actually think Laertes might want to be at the very, very front because he gets to see some weird, interesting things. And it's not so much that his sense of self-preservation has all of a sudden stopped functioning as much as this is the first time he's gotten to see any of the things that he's read about and studied in person in any way, shape, or form.
I'll be on the lookout for Laertes' sense of self-preservation and be right behind him.
Okay. Laertes, will you make a survival check for me as you guide the crew deeper into
That
the
is
woods?
a bad idea, but sure.
I think Cypress
You
is
have
actually
advantage.
trailing behind.
Oh, I
this
do?
time.
Okay.
What did Cypress say?
I think Cypress is actually trailing behind this time.
Natural 20. Or 23.
Hey.
There's so much history here that it's just
The power of Merlot.
Beautiful.
You've heard of drunk history. Let's try drunk science.
All right.
Thermodynamics.
As you're traveling along and you're seeing a lot of plants and the sounds of creatures that you have never experienced before. It's literally like discovering a new world, as there are things here that boggle the imagination and the mind. Yet intermixed amongst the plant life that is alien to you, you also see elements that are familiar. Ferns and flowering bushes, some of the trees. Yet some of them also don't seem to, in your mind, mix with the environment that presents itself. As in, like, even though this is a very tropical feeling place, there are tall cypress and pine-like trees that you wouldn't that you are familiar with from more of the mountainous regions, but wouldn't be found anywhere in like Kemet or anywhere south, in like the jungles of Africa, that sort of thing that you may have at least know of experience-wise if you had not been there.
I imagine there's a lot of scientific journals and studies that he's been shown or read that describes and sketches out a lot of what he's seeing if he hasn't seen it personally.
There's also a level of what for us would be the prehistoric style plants, these fern fronds that are monstrous in size, large, like I said, alien looking leaves that don't seem to match with anything that you are familiar with.
I just have a clip of Ellie Sadler playing in my mind right now.
Yeah, basically, what is this even doing here? It's not even the right air.
It's been extinct for 34 million years.
Yep. That's basically what's happening right now. As you continue to move along the path, you get to the. Are you gonna try and navigate? Because if you're heading toward the center of the island, you can kind of snake your way to the obelisk if you want, or do you just kind of bypass it?
My own curiosity is for the obelisk, but I don't know what the other players are, so I'd rather just kind of take a vote on that.
What's up to
Is
you?
the obelisk on the way to that large-shaped thing?
Like I said, you can kind of like, if you make a small detour, it's not going to be like out of the way, but you can kind of like, as you're going, kind of beeline that direction.
Themisto's going to be sticking close to Phoebe and Laertes, and is very interested in learning from this master scholar in his element here right now, so is gonna just go with what he wants to do.
Laertes, you seem almost giddy. Please lead where you want to go.
He kind of just doesn't really seem to have words. He's just, I'd say, just a little smiling and giddy at the thought, and he kind of just continues on. He wants to see all the things.
Okay. You get to, you keeping the top of that obelisk in line of sight. You navigate your way towards it, carefully making sure not to trip up on any of the vines and exposed roots and underbrush. And then you reach a clearing around this obelisk where no plant life grows. It is as if, but it is covered in leaf, as if over countless years, the leaves have still fallen and they have still created like a level of earth, but for whatever reason, there is no like plant life that has grown up from it.
As we get a little closer, and I see this, it's kind of this circle, this area where there is no growth. Thinking back to the initial barrier of this island, I take something that is clearly alive, like a branch that is close to that circle, and I just distantly try to bend it towards a potential invisible wall to see if what happens to that. If the water gets dissipated on the outer wall, is there another wall here that does something to living matter?
You bend the branch downwards, and as it passes beyond the edges of that circular clearing, it continues to bend. Nothing happens.
I look to the others and just...
Are there any symbols of any of the gods on? Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, it was just going to be... I might as well just commit. And he kind of just... You see the hand is trembling and you're not quite sure if
I'll
it's
put a
nervousness.
hand
and
on
he-
your shoulder and walk through with you.
And he kind of just tries to touch the wall, sort of tentatively like a hot stove element to see if it's going to actually burn him.
Themista, what is your reaction when you see them disappear into a puff of smoke? No, I'm just kidding.
Not again.
Well, I guess I'll have more time for running vampire.
Sorry. I have to have at least one
I
moment.
leap in after him.
Last week, it was like thinking Cypress's boo was gonna get stabbed. This week it was Themista watching them get Thanos. It's fine.
The mist, I don't feel so good.
No, as I will say that as you're stepping forward, there are vines that are growing on the obelisk itself, but on the ground, there's like that on that clearing space. When you both take that step forward into the clearing, there is a very tangible difference between walking on earth and then walking on a solid rock-like surface that has a spongy layer on top of it, like leaves that are starting to decay that are sitting there. But there's definitely like, it's not as giving as the earth is when you're walking on like soft forest floor. It's just like now you're stepping on something different.
I want to say something so nerdy right now, but it's so irrelevant.
Do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
This is how Regolith begins. I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, do we kind of just sink through because it's like walking through a pile of leaves, or
Or is it like
No.
decomposed? It's like compressed and kind of made like a spongy
It's
surface. But we
it's
know like Earth doesn't continue underneath. Like there's something.
right, because Earth is
Stone.
just kind of it's not buoyant, and maybe I'm using the wrong words here, but it's just there's a softness to walking on forest floor. This is like if you were walking on cement that had a layer of leaves under it, on top of it. So it's like,
oh, it's a thin layer, not like
yeah, correct.
10 feet. Okay.
No. This is like you're stepping on something solid that doesn't give, and you can hear the crunch of the leaves that are beneath your feet.
So it's almost as if there's this sterilized patch,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything in that is on the ground there is not alive.
Or it doesn't have room to grow.
I kind of just hold up a hand to the others to try and keep back for just a moment as he's going to try and get closer to the obelisk.
Cypress holds out a javelin in like an offertory way.
I'll stay shoulder to shoulder with Laertes in case anything happens. But I want to be on the lookout. Is there any symbols of any of the gods on this obelisk?
Make a perception check. And Penthos, what were you gonna say?
Wherever anyone is looking, like the majority of the group, I want to look the other direction.
Can I ask actually a point of order for you because it's relevant here? Yes.
Me?
Yes, you.
No. Thank you. Thanks, though.
Given that you had said that Laertes had, when he had a feeling of remorse or regret about not being able to save everyone on the ship, there was an intensification of that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
When he was more giddy, more elated at getting to see all this, the start of this old world tech, this mystery that he gets to engage with, was that intensified in any way?
So, was a good feeling made better?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, what purpose do you serve?
I only got an 8.
Could I have been helping with that since I am also looking at everything with rapt interest?
Sure. We can make it with advantage.
Okay, that's a 17.
17. This obelisk seems nearly identical in smoothness and texture to the stone that you saw near the edges of the beach. So there's no symbology to it. It just seems plain.
Given that this is meant to be a similar material to what we saw at the Priory, right?
Yes.
Okay. I remember what it looked like on the inside, where there was this layer of accumulation on the walls. And I, without touching, I kind of just reach out and tapping into that ambient vibration in the air, kind of use it along the surface of the obelisk to try and remove any outer layer of soot or accumulated debris to see if there's anything below that, beyond the surface.
Wait, explain that again? Sorry.
This is just a fancy way of saying prestidigitation, clean the surface, wax off.
Gotcha. You can do that. As you do press the digitate on some of the surface here, some becomes more glassy smooth, and some stays stone-like, where you can see what almost looks like a window or a panel of sorts.
Oh, I'm getting that Star Trek Elkar's control panel view in my brain. I want that to be true.
What
And-
is this? Is a box of some kind? The stone?
It's different from the other things that we had seen. And you see him kind of just like beginning to crack his fingers as he's just presented with this fun little mystery of potentially working old world tech that he doesn't have to read old manuals that are just stories of stories about stories describing a thing that may not even work or may not have ever existed. And it's a real tangible thing finally in front of him, and he just cracks his fingers, and you notice that tremor isn't really there at the moment. Maybe just the focus on something kind of just takes that away.
I knew.
And
No, I was gonna say. I will say, as you're getting close or getting closer to it, there
I thought we
is.
were already at it. My bad.
Yeah. Well, I just mean as you were approaching it. Yeah. I just something I meant to say. Remember when I had talked about before that working elements of the old kingdom always had a certain vibration to them, a certain essence of power, a hum to them. There's a really deep-seated thrum of energy that comes from this thing. And the closer you get to it, the stronger that presence feels. It's like walking up to an electrical pole. Like, you may not be touching it, but you can kind of
You can
just feel the power that's close by.
So, in a similar fashion, he knows he doesn't need to really detect whether or not something is happening. He can practically taste it at this point. And instead, he just reaches out, and much like when Penthos was strumming along invisible wires on the instrument that became visible, just basically just where he touched, Laertes begins to manipulate through invisible strands that just briefly, ethereally materialize around his fingers as he tries to dial into all that energy and understand what it is he's looking at, which will take several minutes as he casts Identify.
Okay. Phoebe or Penthos? Who's up first? Phoebe. Go ahead. What were we gonna say, Phoebe?
As Laertes is doing his identify spell, I would like to begin digging through that layer of mulch to see what exactly is underneath, if it's similar material, if maybe all of this is even connected.
Yeah, as you start wiping away some of the leaves, I'll say even with your feet, or if you even brush it away with your hand, there's about like 2 inches or so of leaf. And then you hit smooth stone that looks exactly like what the obelisk is made out of.
I'm going to help Phoebe with that.
Okay. We're gonna say Penthos?
Just about the hum and the thrum that I had mentioned, I think in the last session. Do I hear that?
Oh yes.
Okay.
And it
I will
sounds
probably...
it's familiar in that same way with Laertes, that it's this that vibe that Old Kingdom stuff has.
Okay. Penthos will approach uncomfortably close to where Laertes is working. Almost put like my cheek against the obelisk.
Nice.
I would say I don't even really notice, as I have to close my eyes just to try and focus on tapping into all this energy to understand what it even is.
And Themister's going to take her sword and kind of put it into the ground and kneel and be just quietly saying to herself, Poseidon, if this is your domain, please help us to understand your works, that we may come to your aid.
As you are in the process of casting this, Laertes, and Penthos puts his face up to the the side, and
I think Zonder may have something
oh yeah, sorry,
irrelevant.
no, go for it. What were you gonna say, Astrid?
Esther's going to use her short sword as kind of like a shovel, and if the mulch is not too deep, with trying to help Phoebe.
Excuse me, sorry.
She wants to like horizontally run the sword along the surface of the stone and like kick up the mulch as far out as she can before it hits dirt again.
Okay.
To see like how wide this thing is from what we're standing on.
You can, I'll say as you're doing that, you can definitely see that the edges of it ends where the clearing begins. So it's definitely like there's nothing that has grown on top of this thing, just because there's not enough where it can like anything can take root. So you can get the edges of this stone, and it definitely is still this same smooth. Say there's maybe a couple of grooves here or there that you do find as you shovel away this much. But
Just stop at a groove and
Okay.
like
Okay, and this is, I mean, we're talking like a half of an inch of a groove. It's not even like a whole lot, but you can kind of follow that line as it kind of goes for a little bit and then suddenly curves, takes a sharp angle curve and then keeps going in another way. Definitely looking like it's cut on purpose and lot less just a structural accident. Cypress, what were we gonna say?
Just for flavor, Cypress is kind of back from this group and looking on as everyone seems to be actively engaging with this scene, and he is like looking from person to person and just kind of shuffles his feet. No one would like look up to see this really, but he clearly does not. He feels like he should be doing something, but has no frame of reference for what he should be doing. So after he just kind of looks around from person to person, kind of drops his head a little, and then turns outward to look out for other people.
Nice. Interesting you say this. for a voice suddenly is heard echoing from the obelisk in seemingly around all of you at once. Neos Christis, para caloparos deta stoicete tafitatos. Penthos. Though you know not why or what or how, you know the words that have come from everywhere and nowhere. You understand what they say to you. And as you hear the voice from the edges of the clearing in the forest, Cypress, a ghostly form appears, as if apparated from nothing, wispy and tendril-like, made of purples and pinks and golds and white lights. A four-legged centaur-like creature stands before you, staring at you with an alien-looking face and unblinking eyes. Penthos, do you say anything?
I do something.
What do you do?
I get very wide-eyed, take my cheek from the obelisk, look down at my scraggly leather pouch, pull out my deck of cards, put them to my ear, get reassured in my face, fan them out, and pull the Old Kingdom card that I showed Laertes, and put the rest back. And I will present that card to the obelisk.
Hold on. Doing some last minute translations.
Cypress, by the way, not doing anything, but what he would be doing is he stands there without his hand really hovering over anything. One might be able to tell because his left hand is holding his shield kind of up in a defensive posture, but more in a I'm not sure if I should be defending myself thing. And his hand, instead of really like hovering above the hilt of his sword, is like just kind of near it. But he's pretty frozen and staring up at this misty, ghostly figure.
There's a slight hesitation and then the voice returns. I epaletepsi egin apodecti kalos irethes aloxof Marianis. And with that, there's a deep rumble, and the obelisk. I could not think of the word. I was saying pyramid. The obelisk begins to alight with the edges. It looks something not like out of Tron, with these blue lights that shoot all the way up to the top. And that is where we're going to end for tonight.
Well,
Damn
Laertes
it.
activated the thingamabob.
I was actively not activating anything. I was trying to read the manual before I touched anything.
I know I didn't
What's the
do
fun in
anything.
that?
And now, by the time we'll say by the time you finish this spell is about the time that this is just finished happening. So you're gonna know exactly what this thing does right when we start next time.
That language wasn't celestial, was it?
It was not.
Thought I'd ask, just in case.
Yeah.
Primordial in any way.
No.
Was it Old Kingdom, which
Probably.
technically I know at least a little bit.
Yeah, it is a version of it, which in this instance we are using deep speech for.
You know the question for where's the bathroom? And you did not hear that.
So I guess we're all Police Navi dead.
Good stuff. That
Oh my god.
Yeah. All right. Sweet.
This is Poseidon's Times Square ball that we just activated.
Titan's ball's gonna
10,
drop? No,
9.
never mind.
Uh-oh.
So we should, while we're still here, we should roll for who's going to be doing recap next week.
Oh, good
Yes,
thinking.
Hunter, you get to roll a d6.
Can I opt out since I just did one last week?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Who's who of us?
Oh, that's true. So number 2 would be, to mine, Phoebe, according to
I've
the
already
Twitch
done it
player.
twice.
Okay,
Hey,
well you
you
can
know.
opt out too then.
Okay, so
I've only
from
done it
there,
once, so I could do it.
it would be Astrid in that case.
at all. So I'm happy to. So I took so many notes today.
Hey.
There
And
you
we're going to
go,
get
it
your
worked
feelings
out.
about your ship and your crew.
Yeah, this is a good one for Astrid to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I really want to talk to Themisto.
Oh yeah. Well, there'll be opportunity provided you don't blow yourselves up right now.
What do you
with
want to talk
the
to
giant
Themisto
flies.
about, huh?
She's
Cyrus?
busy and I can't talk to her right now. She's engaging with the obelisk.
Mister was just saying a little prayer. So
Beautiful. Well, that was fun and exciting, and not nearly as dangerous as we thought it was going to be, or was it? I don't know.
There's always the word yet.
and she missed Penthos putting his face to it, so for all she knows, her prayer to Poseidon for help with the thing was just answered. So-
Yeah. Yep. Who knows?
This is the tree, but it can be our obelisk.
I'm just picturing Penthos as like kind of like a cat just went into the obelisk to scent mark it as his.
Beautiful. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you for another lovely time. We will see you at the next
year.
next year. Same lovely time.
Sunday night, there is a Discord New Year's Eve party if you want to come hang and crash whenever it hits midnight in your time zone.
Mm-hmm.
Huzzah.
Bring your own
Huzzah.
beverage.
We'd
if
meet
you so
before
choose.
midnight, right?
Yes.
Or would it only be? Okay.
Nope, only midnight.
Just be there for 1 minute.
And then everybody leaves. Hello, yay! Okay, bye. Just like that. Alrighty, guys. Well, have a good night. Stay safe, be fey, and all that jazz. Bye.
Do drawing signs.